All right, so thanks to everyone here for tuning in. This is now the 11th, I guess, event in the series, which is selfishly titled David Has Zoom Pro for a Few Months reading series. I did not know it would last over a year, because then I would have thought of a more serious and more accurate title, since it's no longer a few months, it's many, many months. But yeah, I figured I'd put some good to a Zoom Pro account and host some poetry. And tonight we have Adrian Dallas Frandle, Jenny Irish, Amorak Huey, and Donna Vorreyer, who are so awesome enough to join us tonight, spend their time with us, share their work with us. For the audience, go ahead and hopefully keep your mics muted the whole time, but we do have the awesome chat feature, so please, shout things out, give praise to our wonderful readers. I will post their bios, post links to their work throughout the reading, so definitely yell things out in the chat. I mean, this is also the wonderful Zoom reactions, emojis. I'm not sure what they are, but you can clap and smile and post hearts and stuff. So just, like a regular reading, don't yell things out. And I think we have closed captioning going. So if anybody needs that, it is available. And I will get right to it and start with our first reader. Adrian Dallas Frandle is a queer fish who writes poems to and for the world about its future. They are poetry acquisitions editor for Variant Lit, Mag and Press, an editor at Sledgehammer Lit, and a poetry first reader for Pigeonholes and OK Donkey Lit Mags. Adrian is the Best of the Net 22 nominee.
Thank you, David. Hi, everyone. It's so great to be here with you all. David, thank you for your Zoom powers for good. Very appreciated, and so wonderful to be here with everybody else. I'm such a huge fan of everyone's poetry. So let's go. Let's see. This first one is called Want to Play a Game with Me. Since we've all been sort of, or at least I have been inside so much the past few years, it's one of those ones. This one appeared in Cloves magazine, Lit Mag, earlier this year. So, Want to Play a Game with Me. I've been playing games on Wii, one being how much wet and mewling laundry can I encircle in my arms and still pretend it's not a baby? How wide is lonesomeness and how much heavier anything is when it's soaked, and how many loads before I overload the dryer? Throw up downy sheets like kerchiefs, the only material around here slow enough to juggle a magician pulling activity out of a hat. Is this all there is? Gamifying housework and listlessly wandering the rooms reading vacuum-lined tea leaves? Is fortune-telling a game with a prize? What does it mean if the lines intersect and at the crossroads, where the weave is most suspect, the still unclean? Means the fucking Dyson is broken, even though it costs like $1,000 and you signed over your soul with a warranty. And what's the difference between you and me now that you're playing around? At least you've marked where to bury the obols in the ground, but where does the time go during chores? And what's the difference between chores and work, if not the boss? Who can guarantee fair wages since you can't unionize with the dog? She refused, said she's not in race. Or what is the difference between the sky and the floor, and why do they hate each other so much? Or have you ever woken up from that dream where you step off the curb, but you fall back into yourself and are disappointed by waking? And have you ever tried to step up and wash the windows by yourself, but the top will forever stay smudged because you're not tall enough, so you just shrug it off because you are sure you would never haul in the ladder? Hear me out, but I only use my inside voice in the house when I'm not yelling, and I only yell at the television because between me and the wall, having such a ball, having a staring contest, and just when she was about to blink, another Top Chef switched itself on and I flinched, and now I will never live it down, not inside her house, since the house always wins, even when you think you've got solid rules to abide by and a game to live inside. And Christ, am I tired, and I think the dryer is done, but will you check? Are you having any fun yet? Thank you. called Calyx. This was in the Moist Poetry Journal, and I saw a hand here, so wonderful, thank you. So much great stuff in Moist. This is After Housekeeping by Marilyn Robinson. So Calyx. Oh, make of my teeth a sieve. Drink from this font of mercy. Make of my body a community. Lips, nets, filter all impurity. Every virus, every bruised, silted eye sifted through. Every hurt sold. Let tears collected, salt crust, make from them crystallized calyx, tinkering grass, swaying invisible breeze, realized glazed stalks bowing to receive caresses, gentle kiss on the forehead, hand, finger split. Let me reach up with both fists and grasp the wind, that joy withheld, cast into the sky for me to find now, to harvest, to harness, to imbibe. How then to live now with such hunger on the wind, with danger fanning out in every direction? If I could lay a table for 600,000, for all of the empty chairs lost, and we are losing, pushed away from the table, here I set a place for every heart, take up all silver, every syringe, gather up the mercury, every fevered thermometer, cobble together each scalpel, open-chested, melted into one flowing substance, pressed, then cooled into utensils for our feast. This is one way we remind ourselves we are alive. We survive by silver linings we dine on, and even while falling, peeled away from seats, full, too early, it is salt-glinted things that shine us into understanding. We were always whole. Thank you. All right, I'm just gonna click through faces really quick to remind that y'all are still there. All right, it's weird to see just my own floating face. Okay. David, I'm also looking at you, so you got to let me know when I'm sort of keeping time, but just like start waving, wave me off. All right, the next one is called Left on Prospect. This one was one that I pretty much jotted down straight after getting out of the car from a doctor's appointment. And this was in Tramp Set earlier this year. And I have a sort of companion piece coming out to this in December, also with Tramp Set. So looking forward to that. Left on Prospect. Nothing converts one to an augur faster than an abdominal ultrasound on Valentine's Day. Anointed into the priesthood of interpretation with one swipe of warm gel to the belly. Or perhaps it was the juvenile eagle one would be tracking on one's drive home from the appointment. Maybe one would watch it circling and slow down the car to try and snap a picture. The danger meager, the situation benign. Their cars become enwrapped with its form, cutting, taken up, gorgeous plumage modeled like a border collie's brindled coat. One would continue and keep pace down Stratford Road. One would take a left on Prospect and marvel as it intersects with two white-capped adults dangling a snake and vying for sustenance. One might stop the car and check that no one else was watching. One may gasp as the trio pulses and dips in and out of view, only to surface again above the gables and trees. Not struggling. One would be ashamed to see a family sharing and assume it was violence, as if nature cared for results or the difference. One could read the signs in one's own entrails that morning. Look closely. The eye of the ultrasound, sharp as an eagle's. All right. I'm gonna shake off the heavy for a second and jump into one by request. I got a request. I felt so fancy, like a DJ. So this one is called How to Conjugate a Twink, a homo triptych tableau that was part of a pride call that appeared in Had. But this one was great fun and tiny little prose poem CNFE bites. How to conjugate twink, a blossom, a pink petal drifting who the wind pirouettes. Straggler daisy, Key West. At the all-male clothing optional resort, the pneumatically red Mickey Rourke-looking character sat alone at the two-top considering his silence. In two straggler daisy twinks frolicked amongst the inflatable penguins and bandied about a blow-up beach ball. One smacked it with a flounce and giggled as it bounced on the food-strewn table. The globe came crashing through the fragile pane of the solemn diner's contemplation. Mickey Rourke hoisted his fork and brought it down with a wrestler's force, bursting the ball while bellowing, "I'm trying to eat." With that remark, the once vibrant pool blossoms withered and, like the ball, deflated under the heat of the afternoon's sticky, sweet fork. Twunk, the sound of a soft landing on skin, a delicateness. Beach Rose, Fire Island. Triumphant and lanky, the twunky beach rose ascended the glass divider betwixt the front bar and the back dark room. Shedding t-shirt and jeans like fallen petals and leaves, he wiggled victoriously, shaking twiggy ass until the barkeep beneath slammed ass and mouth back on. As quickly as the queer stalk had bloomed, it crumpled back into the grass of undulating bodies beneath. Without time to photosynthesize under the disco ball or gaze of lustful eyes, a flower dries to dust. Twonk, the wilting of what could have been, the past. Narcissus, Chicago. He eyed himself in the dorm room mirror and squeegeed the cum from his rock-hard stomach with a banded gym sock, the kind used by real jocks. It's okay, I told him cautiously, anxiety budding as I tried to be kind. To whom? And look casual while supine but defensively clutching a blanket. It was not okay. We had the same name, but I felt naked as a stamen without blade or bud to hide in for protection. I know, he replied in a butchified sotto voce, to whom, as he watched his own stare wither in the reflection. I fell in with him, transformed then into something floral, made to be plucked. All right. And let's see. I'll do one more. How's one more? Sounds good. Okay, great. This last one, let's see. This one's a little more helpful. This last one just came out in the most recent Words and Sports Quarterly. So shout out to those folks. And this is my first and, to my knowledge, only so far sports related poem. So this is dedicated to dads and all dads who, had to leave early for whatever reason. So the big stretch. In every memory of them have leaves the early during the thinning stretch. I've spoken with several friends with similar experiences of fathers picking up and departing then. I imagine, and in some way it was, a coliseum chock full of dads, gathering all at once, kids and belongings, scaling concrete stadium stairs past the 1,000 orange plastic seats. Rush of parents, hallways, bottlenecking, and bathroom lines endless with various pairs of fathers and their kids exiting. The parking lots were also bad, but not as bad as the end of the game, Dad would say. Some never made it even as long as the 7th. But from what I learned from him, their situation would be no different. I hope they too together listened rapt to those last few innings, the radio fading out, then in wave-like, static, finally the sun swaying head to rest on his dark window. The figure next to him limned golden in high beams. The road home would feel to him so fast, like blinking. Thanks, y'all.
Thank you so much, Adrian, for getting us started. I absolutely love those poems. And the last one's making me think of things I haven't thought of in a very long time. All right. Next up, we have Jenny Irish, who is the author of the hybrid collections, Common Ancestor and Tooth Box, the short story collection, I Am Faithful, and the forthcoming chapbooks, Would Be Future Humans from Ethel Micro Press and Lupin from Black Lawrence Press. She teaches creative writing at Arizona State University and facilitates free community workshops every summer.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much, Adrian. It's such a pleasure to be here with you all tonight. Thank you also to everyone who came. So I'm going to read some pieces from Lupine, and I suppose I should just say that a lot of the work that these pieces are doing is looking at combinations of the notion of the feminine and the notion of the bestial, and they have some violence in them and some images that may be a little unsettling intentionally. So thank you for thank you for being here and giving me space to share these. So the first one that I'll read is called A Brief History of Motivations. The predominant inquisitor of women accused of witchcraft, it is theorized, was a sadist with acoustophilia, a fetishist aroused by the infliction of pain, humiliation, and their associated sounds. In nature, there's something called a scarcity response. This is what drives a wolverine in winter to kill more than it can consume. With the first prey pulled down, a trigger is pulled in the brain, and a trigger pulled is a trigger pulled. Devices of torture invented specifically for use against women were designed to destroy anatomical elements of the body associated with the female. The breast ripper, for example. The practice of sexual torture against women can be tracked back to the Romans, who recognized rape as a crime only possible against those of good standing. The scavenger's daughter is a metal clamp that compresses the body in a crouched position. The turn of a heavy metal screw folds the chest to the thighs, tighter and tighter, until the clavicles clack and the spine dislocates. Blood rushes from the mouth and the ears and the eyes. Far more popular for women charged with wickedness was the Judas cradle, a tall three-legged device topped with a sharpened pyramid of wood, wider at its base than the human body. Strapped into a special harness, women were lowered into position over the pyramid's point. For the purposes of entertainment, or for efficiency's sake, weights could be bound to the ankles. Today, we know the mind seeks the structure of narratives. From shadows, we make stories. On a path, the light shifts, shudders, snags in the branches, then slips into smoke and slinks away on the wind. So a black dog is sighted, its tongue split, one paw extended, beckoning, and on another winter gnawed night, a white cat shimmies down a chimney, leaps through the flames and cries from the pink whirl of its anus, witch's butter, then vomits a shining spew of seeds on the floor. And even in the scant safety of daylight, a yellow bird, songful, lights on a snow-heavy branch and trills, treasure, 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 a bonny blue bonnet and delicate bed. And a room was never so bright as when a girl in service was burning to death inside it, her greasy cuff catching a spark and sparking up as she stoked the fire. So what could wonders be but evil? While some witch panics seem genuinely inspired by fear and religious fervor, America's history of inquisition, when dissected, is a story of jealousies and resentments. Attacks against those more fortunate and less. The pretty girl with her skirt tied up at the knees to negotiate the mud-flooded path, the farmer with the fattest pigs and the sturdiest sons, the matted madwoman picking corn kernels from the cowpats in the field and feeding them to her child. Thank you. This one is called Harpy. Here I am, the heavy bird, shifting high above, invisible at night, feathered black, as much a pit as any necrotic tooth in any unkempt mouth, crook-necked, scythe-headed, eyes puddle flat and palest watercolor, keeping constant watch from their shallow set, surface deep in naked skin, red as uncooked meat. My pebbled cheeks the shade of a hot blood blush, mine a flush like butchering. Below, I watch a girl child unattended, playing with a bit of wood, whittling it away. Sliver by sliver slipped from the body of the branch by the light sliding bite of her little blade, until that which could be carved into anything becomes nothing at all. Girl child, if you must hate yourself, let it be for lack of talent rather than the body your soul inherited. This is not meant to sound profound, but I have, from forever, wished to be a songbird, the courier of 1,000 prayers, poured grain by grain into the sweet thimble of the ear of the infinite, instead of a cousin to the wingless, the weasel things with the wrinkled, long-nailed hands of witches. And then, oh, thank you, Anne. This one is called Rusalka. No dreams, no buttercream, no nesting bowls, no sugar beaten into shape, no doe and fawn in the wildflower field, no toast crisp and cut to soldiers, no soft-boiled egg, no egg cup, no little throne for a beheading, mouse tracks through the flour, a hole burrowed through the bread, no eat your fill, no second helpings. Before birth, I was the rough work, good enough. A daughter, I became the failed spell cast with petals and a candle flame. Crinoline, velvet ribbons, my child mother's father picked a name. No magic in our meeting, no songbirds, no rare light, a tall girl, legs limp from kicking, a wet infant with a greenish slick of hair. No two fingers touched to the bath water, everything pink until the finger snap switches it to black. No lullabies, farmland, plowed and harrowed, no guerrilla fallow. Take me to the river, show me where the deadfall caught the body. No more pretty, no more use for an ivory comb, no more haunted wanting. Girly at last, left alone. And then I'll read one more. Is that good? That's enough, yes. This one is called The Woods Are Dangerous, Dark and Deep. I am the mystery maid of the red hunting mastiff, his dog bulk. I am the mystery maid of the red hunting mastiff, hauling his dog bulk onto the hackled back of the tawny wolf, the called merciless outcome of the red mastiff, hitching high his forepaws and heaving his stiff old hips against the hackled hindquarters of the tawny wolf, separated from her pack and starving off starvation in the snow by stalking what threw shadows by lantern light. Mother, man-eater, made incoherent to her instincts by one specific instinct, though her hackles were raised, inviting the red mastiff, a dog hand-fed from the hand of a man, a dog dressed in boarskin armor bladed at the throat, a dog dressed smartly to survive the hunting of wolves, to mount her, to mash his body against her body, to make a new body inside her with the lunge that lodged him there. And after the hunting party has loaded me, her consequence sawn full with silver shot, when they cut my belly open, I mother taught, returned to them the perfect and pale hand of a missing girl, as greased and blue as a baby at birth. Hope is the word for the distortion, allowing one man among the hunting party to see the small hand of a small girl spill from my belly the blood slick slit the belly of the beast, and believe she may be as whole inside me as a captive kept inside the tower of a castle, cloistered above the treetops like a princess, ringed and ringed by the safety of stones stacked upon stones. Yes, this is how a man builds a wall, stone upon stone. And yes, this is how a man builds a cairn too. The small hand, blue and greased, is whole, it's true, whole and attached to a wrist, and the wrist is attached to a thin, strong arm. But there the girl comes to an end, having met her life's end when she was only just beginning. What one hunter thinks is the beginning of the girl taking hold of her blue greased hand to guide her from the blood slick slit my belly bared, reveals itself when coaxed as the evidence of her end, her whole hand attached to a wrist, the wrist attached to an arm, thin and strong, but that is all of the whole girl that there is. Dear whole hand, dear heartbroke hunter, dear hamstrung hope, I am part dog, part wolf, all dead. I might have wanted a life too. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny.
Thanks so much
Man.
for inviting me and having me.
Yeah, I'm glad you could make it. I love all those poems and how they just build that fantastic atmosphere. I'm really excited for your chapbook too, which everyone should order, or pre-order, I should say. All right, our next reader, Amorak Huey, is the author of 4 books of poems, including Dad Jokes for Late in the Patriarchy, co-founder with Han Vanderhart of River Books. Huey teaches writing at Grand Valley State University in Michigan. He also is co-author with W. Todd Kaneko of the textbook Poetry, A Writer's Guide and Anthology, and the chapbook //.
Yeah, thank you so much, David. And yes, we do pronounce all 3 slashes. So I'm actually going to start with a poem from that chapbook that Todd and I wrote together. Thank you so much. What a great group of poets to be. I'm honored to be in this company and to hear these poems. It's amazing. And because of one of the poems, I'm going to change the last poem I read because of one of the poems Adrian read, because I think there's some synchronicity there. But I'm going to start with the last poem in this book, this chapbook called ///, which is sort of unauthorized, imagined biography of the Guns N' Roses guitarist. And one of the threads that runs through here is his relationship, his troubled relationship with the singer Axl Rose. And the last poem is called Axl Writes a Love Letter to Slash, Slash writes a love letter to Axl. Is it body or engine that makes a muscle car sing? Is it finger or string that forges music into metal? Throat or tongue that wrestles air into ballad? If it's you, it was always you. If it's me, we'll find out when a new sun torches the pale sky above this desert we've drained, when wildfires consumed what's left of this nation we built. Barbed wire around the mirror doesn't change what's looking back. It's like that movie where the good guy wears the bad guy's face and eventually they forget which one is good and which is bad. At some point, we should admit we were better together. Or at least I was better. We traveled the galaxies, frolicked with angels, drank from the forbidden cup, danced with the queen. We transcended time until we didn't. All from such humble origins. There's a story I tell people about when we met. You had a dog then, something big, mean. I don't remember its name, but you called it Shithead and gave it whiskey from your bottle. You would forget to walk it or wake up too late, so your apartment reeked of piss, but no one wanted to be over there anyway because that dog was always barking and snarling. It was a weird fucking relationship. No one could even tell if you liked the thing. Then it died. It was a dog. Dogs die. It's how the world works, even for the goddamn king. We outlive what we love unless it outlives us. Together we buried that stupid mutt in a box overflowing with roses. You wept. You didn't know I was watching. I wept. It's a kind of I guess, a tragic ending for the Slash and Axel story. And then I'm going to read some poems from my book, Dad Jokes from Late in the Patriarchy. And near the beginning of the book, there's a series of prose poems that are about, mostly about television characters, television dads, and where I got my idea of what it meant to be a dad and what it meant to be a son and what it meant to be a man, which is, these are really terrible models in a lot of ways. But yet they really, I don't know, they shaped how I felt at that age and probably in ways that I haven't ever escaped fully. So there's prose poems named after these television characters and the actors who played them. This is called Pa and Michael Landon and Buddy Ebsen and Daniel Boone. He moves through dark woods, checking traps and splitting logs, the work of keeping a family alive against another long winter. The cruelty needed to survive and no more. The particular gracelessness of a thin man with a large beard. A caught fox screams, or a rabbit, because blood needs blood, because a man has a duty. My father moves, then moves again. America is fond of its rootless men. I walk beside. I carry a bow and arrow. I do not know how to shoot. He will not ask for help. He teaches me the names of blackbirds, the songs of trees, how to peel back bark and tap the sugar beneath. I imagine such sweetness, a cold wind. We stand and press on in the deepening snow. This one is called Ward Cleaver and Mike Brady and Fred McMurray and Dick Van Patten. A man brings his work home. He shows up at the end of the day to dole out discipline and eat meatloaf, to fix bicycles and assign blame. Briefcase, strong hands, a love of puns. I imagined my parents' childhood in black and white, playing out in 2-act structure on a wooden console in the living room. Get into hot water, get out. TV trays and bottles of Coke, live studio audience, and a happy ending. A million cigarettes. My friends' parents were unhappy and I did not know why. My parents were unhappy and I thought I knew why. I learned the wrong lesson from every episode. Now it is early evening. I'm standing next to my father on the front porch. He slings his coat over his shoulder. He loosens his tie. The porch swing creaks in the wind, rusted chain grinding. We are actors. We are characters. We have not rehearsed what happens next. Another one of those with, again, some perhaps questionable role models for masculinity and fatherhood. This is called Fred Flintstone and George Jetson. I am somewhat embarrassed to admit where I've gotten most of my ideas about how the world works. And I'm definitely embarrassed to admit how much time I spend thinking about people who have more money than I do. When I was 13, my mother said, "You want to be one of the beautiful people." And although I knew she didn't mean it as a compliment, I took it that way. My cat says hello. I did not realize it was already too late. This is a club you're in or you're not. I did not realize I had invented the club myself, and the main requirement is that you must not be me. I thought it would be enough to break rocks or build sprockets and to zip home at the end of the day to give my wife a hard time about how much she had shopped that afternoon. And although now that I write this down, it obviously seems vapid and unsatisfying, I knew early that this was the model. What I wanted to be when I grew up: someone with a dishwasher, a riding mower, a fickle boss to complain about, and so on. And now, all these years later, I have or have had most of these things. And still, I live across the street from the backsides of the houses where the beautiful people come out on summer evenings to grill steaks and caviar on their custom-built outdoor kitchens. Sometimes I can hear them laughing, possibly at the poor sap who lives across the street and thinks you grill caviar, who believes in the nobility of hard work, who thinks that if you break enough rocks, surely you will open a path out of the quarry. This is about, it's about the same thing. It's called I Am Not Arnold Schwarzenegger. I am 14 years old at the video store, deciding on a movie my father and brother might both enjoy, deciding who I will be for the rest of my life. Oh, how this can go wrong. There are so many rules I'm grateful for. There are so many rules that I'm grateful for any that are written down. Rewind, return by noon. 3 movies per night per household, more than enough for the 48 hours we have to fill each week. Choice after choice, and every story promises the same metaphors for the Cold War, or sex, or the war between the sexes, all of which is shorthand for adults not understanding each other or themselves. I haven't learned this yet. I still believe wisdom is real and waiting around the corner. I want to see Porky's, but my father is in the car and I'm not supposed to know about the skin mags in the back of his desk. We keep our erections to ourselves. We watched Risky Business on last weekend's visit, and I would happily spend 2 more hours with Rebecca De Mornay, but my father doesn't like the ending. Terminator, then, again. It's no longer a surprise when Arnold turns out to be the villain. Sorry, I should have told you there's a spoiler in this for a 40-year-old movie. It's no longer a surprise when Arnold turns out to be the villain, but still. There's pleasure in watching him learn to be human so he can destroy us. His body is a marvel, a measure against which I have no chance. His body is relentless. I am somehow both skinny and pudgy. His biceps are a religion. My bones are only bone, no titanium anywhere. I am too young to see the inevitability of a sequel in which he is the hero. Sarah Connor? Arnold asked, his eyes hidden behind those sunglasses, and I see what he's really asking. Yes, I want to say, yes, I am, though I know what the answer will cost. One more from this book, and this is from near the end, where I have moved from talking about being a son and an adolescent to being a father. So this book is about fatherhood. It's called Childhood Goes Kaleidoscope, Kaleidoscope, Kaleidoscope Gun. We keep waiting to wake up and know what we're doing. We've learned to be grateful for any colored shard of glass not shaped like a bullet. We are driving in a blizzard. Not a metaphor. We could die. I have a lot of responsibility here. And our daughter is telling us a ghost story. We're listening for any clues to the riddle that is her mind at 15. Her life has ceased to revolve around us. There are so many bullets. We've learned not to take these small moments for granted. In this story, the father of the children of her Sims character came to visit, refused to leave. She built a tiny room, lured him in, deleted the door. 30 game days later, he died. The story takes a long time to tell. Our son keeps interrupting to sing "We Got the Beat" and talk about his plans for his new airsoft gun with the biodegradable ammo. Everything is so dangerous. There are no metaphors. It's our fault for giving him what he wanted, this world, its shattered edges. He has 2,000 pellets, a freshly charged battery, a friend to shoot. What more could a boy desire? She likes having the ghost around, she says. Better now than when he was alive. And this sounds like a mostly okay ending. Probably all we can ask. And then I want to end by reading two newer poems. One that I was planning to read, and then one that Adrian made me want to read tonight. This is inspired by a poem by Layla Chatty. The first line is a play on hers. The poem is called "For So Long I Was Foolishly Proud of the Scar on My Thumb." I wanted to be a man until I met enough men to know better. The pain of understanding that arrives too late is the teeth of handsaw against skin, a mistake while dragging away limbs after a storm. I rend my flesh like wax, a wound that's worse when I look at it. My own blood, the white of my bone exposed, bleached, dying coral, ashed over desert, one dry lake bed after another. I thought I was helping. I thought I was restoring order. I have no excuse for the damage I have done. Men are killing the world. My skin will heal. Will knit a pale contrail across the smaller sky of my body. Will still be the skin of a man. And then this last one, it's my laundry poem. It's called "Watching WandaVision and Feeling Sorry for Myself." So I'll read this one. Thank you so much. What a great night this has been. I'm happy to be part of it. Watching WandaVision and feeling sorry for myself. I feel most like a dad when I'm folding clothes and binging a show no one else in the family likes. It's like getting away with something. I am so bored with myself, my body's ebbs and swells, its lazy meandering away from its best self. You'd think you could control what's inside your own skin, if nothing else. If I died right now, someone would find me fat and white and face down in a heap of my family's underwear. It would seem undignified, but at least it's clean. Jesus, I'm doing the best I can here. February 2016, Hotel Mirror, California, the last time I loved my human body. I was alone for the weekend and naked and doing all right. Now, I do think my life might be a sitcom, and if the government is watching, they're probably most annoyed by the laugh track and all this time I've spent establishing the premise. Like, let's go, we get it, get on with the plot already, like this, over and over, until we see the premise is all there ever was. Thank you so much, everybody.
All right. Thank you, Amorak. I absolutely love dad jokes. The book, not just, dad jokes. Have to clarify. And I'm glad you could be here tonight. Our last reader is actually the president of Amorak Huey fan club, I learned tonight. Donna Vorreyer is the author of To Everything There Is, Every Love Story is an Apocalypse, and A House of Many Windows, all from Sundress Publications. An associate editor for Rhino Poetry, she hosts the monthly online reading series, 100 Pictures of Honey.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for inviting me, David, and what a wonderful group of people to read with. I also have chosen a different poem to read based on Adrian's poem, so it's a theme tonight. I'm just going to start. There's a thing on Twitter that started and then didn't go anywhere. I guess that was someone that was tweeting things like, if you like poems about X, Y, and Z, you will like this person. And the one about me said, if you like sex, nature, and wondering, you will like poems by me. So I guess that's what you're getting tonight, a little bit of that. I'm going to just start with one. I'll start with a couple of love poems, and then I'm going to read some new work. I'm just going to start with the opening poem of my last book, which is a little over 2 years old now, from Sundress, called To Everything There Is. In the Encyclopedia of Human Gestures. Kneeling again at the altar of my dog's shit, a genuflection of civic duty, the park equipped with plastic bags to ensure my reverence. I am struck by this position. For what better evidence of the divine than the workings of the body, all its wastes and contortions, the joints ball and socket rolling with the bend, the foot's tension arcing to balance on the toes, the orchestration of the hands that comb the grass to scoop the mess, the same hands that will later survey this aging flesh, the same hands that will run soft across the lush landscape of your body, the one I know by touch and scent, animal in my devotion, as we both falter toward our demise, into days that host obstacles our younger selves would dismiss, lowering instead into a different type of worship, one that requires no words. And isn't this also something holy? Both of us bending to curve into the other's failings, blending all the broken parts together in a silhouette that resembles prayer. My poems are all short, so I don't know how many I'm going to get through here, except for the one that I changed my mind on. There's one more love poem. I'm trying not to read sad poems tonight because I had a sad week. So this is Abad with Fluttering. Clematis vines climb the trellis on the east wall, a panic of green limb and pink mouth. The dog scratches his knee against the dim window. I rise to pull back the door, let him out to roll and sniff the good grass, all scramble and delight. I pick roses without gloves, longing for a thorn, an arrow to pierce me awake. Moths gather on the screen door, still and silent. Last night, they fluttered over our chests in the dark, drawn to us, punch drunk. Oh, they knew that our bodies together are the purest light. I almost always write short poems, and I've been trying to write longer poems. And when I do it on my own, it doesn't work. So I've been forcing myself to use the end rhymes of long poems in the public domain, or the end words of long poems in the public domain, to make myself write longer poems. And so this is also my housework poem, which is probably the longest poem I've ever written. The life-changing magic of not obsessing, using end rhymes from Amy Lowell's Ballad of the Footman. Dog dander on the black tiles creates a galaxy of stars, a never-ending battle in these domestic wars of cleaning and recleaning. Does it spark joy? The organizing guru asks, as she holds aloft each toy from a child's box: Lego brick, plastic horse, Barbie with no shoes. Such an array. Whole courses on cleaning and organizing the home. Up to your ears in clutter, make keep, sell, discard piles. Shedding tears over your mess, bins and shelves will fix it. You can be king or queen of your castle for a price. Time, for one thing. At 60, my life more than half done, one would suppose I would stop worrying about the floor. Smell the roses, take it easy, whichever cliche you prefer, for some other way to live. Let go of duty. Roll in the sweet grass, smother myself with flowers, find the good lighting, and hashtag live my best life. I pet the dog's gray head and he wags his tail but doesn't rise. He gets it. Each command to come now obeyed at his leisure. Hierarchy be damned. On my morning walk, I admire the Queen Anne's lace, how it clusters, then explodes, each tiny white face an intricate universe. For a while, I don't think of diseases or degenerative discs or skin that wrinkles as it pleases. I forget about clocks and calendars. I don't say the words if or should. I meander through the entire day and never do anything I don't want to do. I finish the Times crossword, practice some yoga, eat a few dark chocolates. The unswept floor taunts. I am emperor of my choices, I declare. I can sit a little longer in the sun or share a text exchange with a friend, so I do. No harm inflicted on anyone. I Google whether anyone has ever been convicted for having a messy house. Health hazards, the internet bellows, child endangerment, hoarding, and neglect. One sad fellow in the results named all of his roaches and is judged unmercifully, but that's not the kind of mess I mean. In the yard, my iced tea glows amber in the afternoon light. The slack jaws of the dog expose his pink and panting tongue. No laws against this quiet, these simple acts of breathing, drinking tea. A breeze riffles his fur, the geraniums stinking of bloom. A neighborhood cat slinks by after a sparrow, and neither one cares about my floors. Deep in my marrow, something tingles. This day has made it plain. Cleanliness is not the path to godliness. A little pain makes its way up my spine, a sail hoisted on a mast. Sweet again won't fix it. I look into my past, hear my mother laugh, see her kitchen sign in my head, protected by a fine coating of dust. She's dead, but I'm not. I go in to fill my glass, my house in line, but not perfect. I smile, slice a lemon, lick the shining rind. Phew, I'm tired. I don't really read a poem that's that long. I'm just going to read a few more, all new ones. This one is called Emily and Pandora Fail in the Anthropocene. I try to muster the energy to love this ugly world, its nocturnal dread, its daft politics, each dumb utterance mistaken for omniscience. Thou shalt aggravate has become the 11th commandment, brought forth from the desert, carved on the body of a bullet. Everyone has a cause, a lentil for your thoughts, cartoon violence with real consequence. But today the door opens onto a field and yellow daisies offer their stalks as sacrifice. They bend their maned heads toward the light, spiny leaves curling like talons. They know that the earth is fucked. We dropped our guard, and now all the news sources say war after fire, after wound, raw and red. Here is the statue of an angel with an agate face, dragged across rough terrain, slathered with mud, abandoned. Once she stood proud outside a cathedral, her golden face turned skyward. Once she had feathers. Once she stayed in the box. I'm just going to read two more, I think, if that's okay. I know we're a little past 8, but I took a short workshop with Amorak once where he asked us what our Detroit was, which I think the point of that question was like, what is the thing that you always write about? So both those come up in these last two poems. This next one is going to be coming out soon in Beaver magazine. Heaven only knows. My roots are Russian and German, making me 80% Bond villain. But I smile too often to ever be convincing. Besides, I was raised to be good, not to leave anyone out. It's how my mother lived, my father insisting that her gravestone be engraved with the phrase, friend to all. Her openness legend, every cashier and server and kid on the block drawn into her welcoming circle. If it is true that the dead watch over us, then my mother is flinching at the way I throw the word fuck around like confetti, though she once scored 100 points spelling genitals in Scrabble. My father perches on my shoulder whenever I make a purchase or a decision. Do you really need that? Is that what you really want to do? And then offers me a shot of brandy for my migraines, which I do not want. or need. It comforts to imagine them holding up numerical placards like ice skating officials every time I write a poem or pull weeds or clean the kitchen, always a 9 or 10, their judgment colored by love and distance. But with that distance, each day they grow a little fainter, and that scares me. In my earliest memory, my father prepared to scale and gut the catch my brothers had pulled from the lake, and I plugged my ears. I didn't want to hear the fish scream, but I'm listening now. In the night, I hear them whisper, "When will you stop writing about grief?" I'm just going to read one more, and thank you again, David, for asking me to read with all these wonderful writers. And thanks to those of you that showed up to listen to us tonight. It's been a pleasure. It's been a long time since I've read my own work. And this last poem is called Summoning. Yesterday, I woke early, the unfamiliar bed twisting my back, the sun on the bedspread a beacon. Still in the throes of half sleep, amorphous and dangerous as mercury, I pulled on my boots and sweatered myself for a walk. The trees tried their best to autumn, but the drought and the hot October had dulled them mostly brown. I made my way toward the river as a melancholy tune hummed inside my empty head, something my parents used to listen to about autumn leaves drifting by a window, about the days growing long since a lover went away. And then I missed them again. Not again. I missed them always, but this old song recalled their graceful dancing, how they held each other, gliding wild around the living room. And before I knew it, the moon, that bastard, reminded me that nothing lasts, that you can walk away from mourning in disaster-proof shoes, but you will still leave tracks, no matter how hard you bang the souls together before re-entering the world. There is always evidence. And when the sky casts its spell of cumulus and blue, the air sweet and soft until the wind invokes a whisper, you must admit that the twilight will arrive, despite your wild devotion to the sun. Remind yourself that you have options. You can look to the darkening sky and say, night has fallen, as if it has landed on you. Or you can look to the darkening sky and say, night has come, as if you had beckoned it. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Donna. I'm glad you could be here. That last poem was like the perfect way to close out a reading. It is a natural ending. I really love that. Thank you. And unfortunately, that does bring us to an end tonight. I'm glad folks could turn out to support these wonderful, amazing, lovely poets. Of course, thank you again to Amorak, Jenny, Donna, and Adrian for giving another round of Zoom applause for all of these fantastic readers. I hope you continue to support them, buy their books, read their work, share their work. They're all incredible and deserve that. Our next reading, I believe, will be December 8th, I'm pretty sure. So please come back for that. You can follow us on Twitter. I always say us, even though it's me. It's starting to become worrisome. But you can follow me on Twitter, or this reading series on Twitter, I should say, at David Has Zoom Pro. So thank you again to my readers. Thank you to the audience, and hopefully I will see everybody next time.